The Convergence Academy's fear assessment chamber hummed with an otherworldly resonance that made even the bravest cadets' spines tingle. Jihan pressed her palms against the cool metal walls of the waiting corridor, watching through the reinforced viewport as another student emerged from the machine, trembling and pale. "Arachnophobia," announced Commander Vextel, his 6 arms making notes on a holographic display. "Severe. Recommend psychological conditioning before deployment to Kepler 442b. Akeem shifted nervously beside Jihan, his scaled reptilian skin changing from its usual emerald to a sickly yellow, a telltale sign of anxiety among his species. "I still don't understand why humans are required to take this test," he whispered. "Your species has only been part of the Galactic Alliance for 50 cycles. Jihan shrugged, her dark eyes fixed on the massive crystalline structure within the chamber. The Zarathi fear engine was a marvel of psychic technology, capable of diving deep into any sentient mind and extracting their most primal terrors. Every cadet who wished to serve on deep space missions had to face it, no exceptions. "Protocol is protocol," she replied, though her voice carried an edge of curiosity rather than concern. One by one, the cadets faced their demons. Takala, the proud avian warrior, emerged whimpering about vast empty spaces. The crystalline mineral being called quartz had apparently harbored a deep fear of entropy and decay. Even the seemingly fearless cyber-enhanced Nexus unit had shown stress readings when confronted with complete system failure scenarios. Each result was cataloged, analyzed, and filed away in neat psychological profiles. Heights, darkness, isolation, death, failure, rejection. The machine mapped every terror with clinical precision. "Cadet Jihan," Commander Vextal's translated voice echoed through the corridor. "You're next." The other cadets watched as Jihan walked calmly toward the chamber. Some had taken bets on what a human's greatest fear might be. Akeem had wagered on claustrophobia. He'd noticed how humans seemed to need their personal space. Others suggested it would be something primitive: predators, fire, or drowning. The fear engine's crystalline core began to glow as Jihan settled into the neural interface chair. Thousands of hair-thin filaments extended from the machine, making contact with her temples, her spine, her neural pathways. The chamber filled with an ethereal blue light. Commander Vextal monitored the readings from his control station, his 4 eyes tracking multiple data streams simultaneously. The machine worked by accessing the deepest recesses of the subject's mind, following neural pathways carved by evolution, trauma, and instinct. It had never failed to identify a subject's core fear, not once in 3,000 years of operation. The readings spiked. Jihan's brain activity exploded across the monitors in ways the medical staff had never seen. The machine dug deeper, its crystalline matrix resonating at frequencies that pushed its operational limits. "Fascinating," muttered Dr. Jihan, the Academy's chief psychologist. "The human neural network is incredibly complex. The machine is having difficulty establishing a baseline fear response." Minutes passed. The fear engine hummed louder, working harder than it ever had before. Through the viewport, the cadets could see Jihan sitting perfectly still, her expression unchanged, almost meditative. Then something unprecedented happened. The machine began to smoke. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. "Commander," Dr. Jihan's voice cracked with alarm. "The engine's core temperature is reaching critical levels. It's overloading." Commander Vexital's mandibles clicked in agitation as he watched the reading spiral beyond normal parameters. "Impossible. The fear engine has processed over 10 million sentient beings. It cannot simply malfunction," but malfunction it did. With a sound like cosmic thunder, the crystalline core fractured. Emergency systems activated, flooding the chamber with coolant and containment fields. When the smoke cleared, Jihan sat exactly as she had before, calm, alert, and completely unharmed. The medical team rushed to extract her from the chair while technicians swarmed over the damaged machinery. As Jihan rejoined her fellow cadets, Commander Vextal stared at the analysis printout in his primary hands. Where every other cadet's report contained detailed psychological profiles, fear classifications, and recommended treatments, Jihan's sheet displayed only a single word repeated hundreds of times: unknown, 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 unknown. "What did you see in there?" Akeem asked, his skin now a curious shade of purple. Jihan considered the question for a moment. Everything, she said finally. Every possible fear, every nightmare, every terror that has ever existed or could exist. The machine showed me loss and pain, death and madness, the heat death of the universe and the screaming void between stars. The other cadets stared at her in horror. And none of it frightened you? Whispered Takala. Jihan smiled, not the cold smile of a sociopath, but something warmer, more complex. Oh, it all frightened me. Every single vision was absolutely terrifying. She paused, watching as technicians wheeled away pieces of the broken fear engine. But being afraid and being controlled by fear are two very different things. She turned to face her fellow cadets, and they saw something in her eyes that the most advanced psychic technology in the galaxy had failed to categorize. Not the absence of fear, but something far more dangerous. The refusal to let fear define her choices. Humans don't overcome fear by eliminating it, Jihan continued. We learn to carry it with us, to acknowledge it, and then do what needs to be done anyway. Your machine couldn't compute that because it was looking for something to exploit, something to fix. She shrugged. But there's nothing broken about being afraid and choosing courage anyway. As the Academy staff worked to replace their most sophisticated psychological assessment tool, word spread through the Galactic Alliance about the species that had broken the fear engine, not through fearlessness, but through their remarkable ability to function despite their terrors. It was the first of many times that humanity would remind the galaxy that sometimes the most dangerous thing about a species isn't what they fear, it's what they're willing to face. And in the depths of space, on missions that would test the limits of courage and sanity, it would be the humans who walked forward into the unknown darkness, not because they weren't afraid, but because they had learned that fear was just another challenge to overcome. The galaxy would learn to count itself fortunate that humanity had chosen to stand with them against the terrors that lurked between the stars.